the clock that controlled time. Once upon a time, in a sleepy English village named Weatherdale, there stood an ancient clock tower at the heart of the town square. The villagers revered it, but not out of love, out of fear. The clock wasn't just a timepiece. It was said to have the power to manipulate time itself, a gift given by its creator, Elias Greaves. But the power came at a price. For anyone who dared tamper with the clock's hands risked unthinkable consequences. Generations of villagers grew up hearing the same warning. Never touch the clock. Yet, no one could explain why it glowed faintly on stormy nights, or why Elias Greaves, the brilliant yet enigmatic inventor, had vanished the very day the clock first ticked to life. Arthur's arrival. On a blustery autumn evening, a stranger arrived in Weatherdale. His name was Arthur Claiborne, a historian and collector of oddities. With his unkempt hair, piercing eyes, and a leather satchel full of notebooks, he was the kind of man who couldn't resist a mystery. At the local inn, Arthur peppered the innkeeper, Mrs. Abernathy, with questions. "What can you tell me about the clock tower?" he asked, sipping his tea. Mrs. Abernathy's face darkened. "It's best you stay clear of it, sir. That clock has brought nothing but strange happenings. Elias Greaves built it, then vanished into thin air. Some say he cursed it, others believe he became part of it." Arthur's curiosity only deepened. That night, while the villagers slept, he wandered into the square. The clock tower loomed above him, its face glowing faintly in the moonlight. A shiver ran down his spine, but he was determined to uncover its secrets. A journey backward. The clock tower door creaked open, revealing a spiraling staircase lit by faint, otherworldly light. Arthur ascended, the sound of his footsteps echoing in the hollow tower. At the top, he found the clock's massive brass hands and intricate gears, all perfectly aligned. Against his better judgment, Arthur turned the hands backward. The moment he did, the air around him crackled with energy. A low hum grew into a deafening roar as the world outside. The clock tower dissolved into a blur. When the noise stopped, Arthur cautiously stepped outside and gasped. The village was alive with horse-drawn carriages, gas lamps, and townsfolk dressed in Victorian clothing. It was Weatherdale, but not as he knew it. He had traveled over a century into the past, living the past. At first, Arthur was enthralled. He wandered the cobbled streets, marveling at the sights, sounds, and smells of a bygone era. He even struck up conversations with the locals, careful not to reveal too much about his true origins. But something felt off. Every time he glanced at the clock tower, he felt as though it was watching him. Its faint glow seemed to pulse, and at night, he heard whispers emanating from its gears, soft, mournful voices calling his name. As days turned into weeks, Arthur realized he was trapped. Every attempt to return to the clock tower ended in strange phenomena. Doors slamming shut, timepieces stopping, and shadows moving in ways they shouldn't. A leap forward. Desperate, Arthur decided to turn the clock's hands forward. Once again, the air shimmered and twisted. This time, when he stepped outside, he found himself in a version of Weatherdale he couldn't recognize. The buildings were ruins, the streets overgrown with weeds, and the sky was a murky gray. It was the village's future, a desolate and abandoned wasteland. Suddenly, a voice echoed through the emptiness. "You shouldn't have meddled." Arthur spun around to see a translucent figure materialize before him. It was Elias Greaves, or what was left of him. "You've unraveled the threads of time," Elias said, his voice tinged with sorrow. The clock was not meant to be a tool for curiosity. It was built to preserve balance, and now you must fix what you've broken. The curse of the clock. Elias explained that the clock was bound to the fabric of time itself. When Arthur turned its hands, he disrupted the natural flow, causing ripples that fractured reality. The only way to restore balance was to reset the clock to its original state, but doing so would come at a cost. "If you reset the clock, you'll no longer exist as you are," Elias warned. "You will become the clock's guardian, bound to its gears for eternity. It's the price I paid, and now it's your turn." Arthur hesitated, the weight of the decision pressing down on him. To save the village and the world as he knew it, he would have to sacrifice himself. The final turn. With trembling hands, Arthur climbed the clock tower one last time. The whispers grew louder, swirling around him like a storm. As he turned the clock's hands to their rightful position, a golden light enveloped him. His body dissolved into threads of energy, weaving themselves into the gears of the clock. Time snapped back into place. The ruins vanished, replaced by the familiar sights of modern Weatherdale. The villagers awoke to find the clock ticking once more, its glow brighter than ever. The Eternal Watcher. From that day forward, the clock tower became a symbol of mystery and reverence. The villagers often spoke of hearing faint whispers when they passed by, as though someone or something was watching over them. Arthur's name was never mentioned, but his sacrifice ensured that time flowed as it should. He became part of the legend, a silent guardian of the clock that controlled time.